Hello everybody, we're here today to go over how to replace a spark plug, how to change it, how to check it, just overall how to just remove it and then put it back in and kind of what to look for. Like to welcome everybody to subscribe and comment. Any feedback you have to any of our videos is greatly appreciated. Alright, let's jump right into it. So first we're going to start with removing the cap. Sometimes you can get this by hand if it's too tight, so you grab a scrunch. I prefer this bigger scrunch here. They do make smaller ones, as you can see the heads are a little bit different. The bigger ones are definitely better for changing out spark plugs, because you can actually reach in there and actually grab onto the spark plug and get it out. Sometimes with these smaller ones you can't quite get in through the actual plastic cover to grab the hold of that spark plug and get it out. So for this purpose, I'm going to be using this bigger scrunch. I just loosen it, and I take it off, and it's just faster for me to use my fingers. Get it off, where you can see your air filter. Later video will review the air filter, carburetor, that type of thing. Today we're just going to focus on the actual spark plug. And as you can see, this is where the spark plug is at, and it's covered by this plastic sheath here. Underneath the sheath there's actually a metal spring that wraps around it. From here the cable goes down into the actual magneto, which is actually down in here underneath the pull cord. I'll be reviewing that in a later video also, look for that. Depending on how old your saw is, you'll have this little rubber strap here that you can utilize with leverage off here to pull off, and you want to pull it off straight back, directly straight back. If you do it at an angle, it can mess up the actual spring inside of there. So you want to come directly straight back. If it's an older saw, this might have already been broken, wore out, whatnot, what have you. So this is where I come in from this side. As you can see, this little plastic cover right here, that kind of prevents material from going in. That's where I leverage. And I start pulling it off, and I leverage off here, this corner. Now we got it off, you can see the spark plug. And that little metal wire that I was talking about just wraps around the tip of the spark plug. And later I'll show you exactly how to feel for it when you get it back on. If it's hot, if you've been running this thing, the spark plug's going to be hot. So you got to make sure you got some kind of gloves, some kind of hand protection on, because it will be pretty warm. Right now I haven't been running it, so it's cold, just demonstration video. So use caution if you are operating a saw and you're trying to do this out in the field. And as you can see, I just pull on it, loosen it, and then I take it off, and I just use my fingers. It's just faster. There she is. The big thing when you take this thing off is, as you can see in there, the direct shot straight into the actual piston. So you got to be really careful, especially if you're out in the field, not to get any material in there, any rocks, pebbles, anything that's going to damage that piston or piston rings. That's a whole different issue, and it gets more expensive later on. If you were troubleshooting this thing and for some reason it wouldn't start, this is where I usually come first. It's a spark plug. It's very common that you're going to end up flooding this thing out for various reasons, whether the carburetor is not adjusted correctly, or just a newer sawyer that doesn't really know how to use these right down in here. That's on a later video as well. I'll show you how to go through that whole process of starting the saw without flooding it. But if it is flooded, you're going to feed a lot of gas, and the whole tip of this thing is going to be wet. You want to either let it air out. What I like doing is I like putting it on run, one click down, and giving it a few pulls, 3 or 4 pulls, to kind of work that moisture out of there. There's a bunch of other methods that people use. If you got the time, I let it just air out, let that gas fumes come out of there. Or grab a brand new spark plug, plug it in, and you should be ready to go. And if that's the issue, then it should resolve itself. So as far as putting this thing back in, you want to make sure everything grabs. You don't want to force it. I always start it with my fingers so I can kind of feel it grab as I'm turning. I'm going to work it. There we go. It shouldn't give you any resistance. If you find resistance, you might be stripping it out, and you're going to run into some major problems down the road as far as trying to get that fixed. You're going to have to take this whole cover off, and I'm not going to get into that now, but you can see I tighten it as much as I can by hand. And that's where I grab my scrunch again. You don't want to over tighten this thing. As you start running this chainsaw, the metal, everything in there is going to expand. So later on, it's going to just end up sealing off, and it makes it a lot harder to pull it off. So all I do is just give it a little bit of pressure. I can feel it. You can feel that slack come off, and that's it. It's nice and tight. From here, when I run it, it's going to expand. It should be good. And I'm not sure, no, you can't quite see it in there, but if you look, you'll see a spring in there. That thing, if you don't get it, you'll see the little rivets if it's off center, but you want it to line out basically around the top of this piston. You don't want it just to touch. And I always kind of try to work it where I can feel it grabbing around it. And then I just press it straight down, and it clicks. It'll click. And that's how you do it. Toss the cover back on. Hand tight. And then I just give it a little twist, just enough to kind of tighten it a little bit more. And that's it. You're good to go. You don't want to over tighten that either. You end up breaking this plastic here. Or you end up stripping the screws behind that. So, and that's it. I'll ask everybody to subscribe, comment, give us feedback, and then look for more videos. We'll be covering a series of videos covering very significant from your basic all the way up to advanced. So thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.